Okay, so the project that we're doing is going to be placed on this building. This is the Cherry Street Pier, and some of you probably know it because it's here in Philadelphia, in Penn Landing nearby, and it's a quite long long building. It doesn't have all of the elements that the building has, but I think with the structure and the roof and a little of the entrance wall and so on is enough. From this line towards this way, it's actually water, and from here on back is the city. I'm giving you this file. It's actually on Canvas. Cherry Street Pier right there. This is student work did. I simplified it. So you can download this Revit file. And the first thing we're going to figure out is, well, let's take this to Rhino. Once we have it in Rhino, let's create, inspired by the films and so on, several floors, several walls, and several ceilings that, again, you like. The first steps, I'm just going to do it very fast. We need to take this to Rhino, and this is something very common. I want to do something crazy here, and I just can't figure out in Revit. I need to take it out of here and work with it somewhere else. Okay, so I recommend for that somewhere else to be a Rhino, but some of you might think that other programs are better. Either way, it is important to know how we take these files out. Important is to actually take, how do we take things out? It's just simple as selecting the parts that you want. Imagine in Studio you have a particular set of walls and ceilings or whatever it is, the limits of your volume space. You might want to select only the roof, a particular two walls, or maybe the stair and the floor, so you can do your thing, having some limits and some scale values. Okay, so in our case, because it's already simplified, I'm going to select the whole thing. I'm going to do File, Export, CAD, and DWG. Here we need to click on the three buttons and go to Solids and change it to this option, ACIS Solids, not polymesses. And then next. It's telling us where do we want this. Give it a name. Take a little while. Just thinking.
You saved it as a DWG file, correct?
I say File, Export, CAD formats, DWG. It's not really saving as, okay? Saving as is a completely different issue. You won't find what you need here. You need to export it as CAD format DWG, okay? So now DWGs are great. You can bring it into AutoCAD if you love how AutoCAD works. But the good thing about Rhino is it also speaks very nicely the language of AutoCAD. So I didn't answer, Jenny, your question before regarding units. Units is another command. Units, we type, enter. And when we create our first file, I recommend you do feet, but then I recommend you check this to feet and inches. So these are the settings we need. And now there's the command also import. So basically bring something from outside. In this case, we need the DWG that we just exported. We'll bring this window. Something important is model units, layout units. Maybe you want to keep that the same, feet and feet. And the rest you can keep them as default. So layer material to layer color. So okay. It's quite of a heavy file that I'm also recording at the same time, so it might take a little while. There you go. When you bring an AutoCAD file from Revit, all of the Revit files, when you export them as DWG, they come with layers and they tend to look like these ones here. Okay, beam, floor, blah, blah, blah. So those are basically Revit elements. So now that you're in AutoCAD, it's tricky in the beginning because you move with completely different buttons, but you have your model and each of them will have a different color. So right now, for example, there's just too many things that they're the same name. Maybe ideally would be to clean a little bit the layers, but if you bring them from Revit, it should look quite okay and nice. So I recommend you save this. Now this is a Rhino model, and you're gonna be working on this one. I recommend in general you create a folder, maybe advanced base, and then panel one, and then save everything there in different folders like Rhino folders, whatever, and save everything. And you know, you can always delete at the end of the semester after you upload to the box or whatever it is, but better, you know, safe than sorrow. So just try to keep everything, not delete stuff. Again, Pier, whatever it is, the name you want to give. Okay, so we have the thing. I recommend maybe that we lock the stuff that we don't want to deform or transform. Maybe there's some other dirty things that we can just delete. And there's a way of purging in AutoCAD. There's also a way to do that in Rhinos. If you type purge, it's just clean layers. And if you say layers, yes, you will basically clean everything that is not in use. So then it should be quite clean. I mean, there's just not much more stuff. Okay. It would be nice not to be able to select things. And now is the idea of, well, you have the world in here. I would like you to start creating floors and walls and ceilings. And I would like you to show them to the rest of us as we move forward so we can have some fun seeing floors and stuff. What tools? Well, we will learn the tools slowly. But for now, maybe boxes and maybe extrusions or simple things. For those that know, maybe you want to explore lofts. No, lofts will be something useful to do. Let me do one test so we see it and we see the process throughout the software. I'm going to actually Control Tab and go to the right view. I'm going to do for now a line here, just blindly, and then I'm going to do a curve. With several points. And enter. I'm going to trim using this side. And trim that. I'm going to join these two guys. And I'm going to go to the 3D view by Control Tabbing and moving that curve to the beginning, maybe of a column. Snap there if it doesn't snap. Most probably because the column is not precise. But anyway, what I can do is near. I'm going to scale this from here. Perpendicular to that point. Move down. So that's on the floor. And what I'm going to do now is copy that same curve. And I'm going to use that point. Go. There's no perpendicular. Copy again. I don't have to repeat because it's copied several times. Perpendicular, perpendicular. We want the perpendicular, otherwise, by the way, you can just uncheck the near because it's bothering us. Maybe the center. Maybe all of them except perpendicular, so we make sure we are doing perpendicular. I'm keeping shift press, so I also know that it's kept orthogonal. And I'll keep one last here. Now everything I was creating is under the checkbox. That's default. I can turn off everything. And I can create a new layer and call the floor, for example, and bring all of those curves. Right click and say change object layer. And obviously the color of that floors could be different. Okay, so this is the same curve, copy one, and again, I can just select some of them and start changing slightly some of these elements. I'm going to do a landscape, as you can pretty much imagine. Maybe not always is a crazy change. So I don't know why I went so crazy with the number of sections, but anyway, it's too much.
Can't wait to see the result.
See what happens, no?
It will be something satisfying, cloudy.
It better be, otherwise all this work for nothing. True. Okay. Okay, let's just maybe at the end comes down. So it becomes floor. And I can even do another copy here that's pressing Alt and dragging, and I can even keep it more simple. Anywho, so a loft is a command that allows you to join multiple curves that are placed in parallel planes. So I can do loft as the command, and then selecting the same area one by one, all of the curves of the loft. So don't, if you're going to do a loft, don't click suddenly in the bottom or in this side. Try to be consistent in where you click and the order of how you click. has to correspond with how you want the surface to join. For center, ideally that they have this curve is in this point are in the same place, and the arrow goes and looks in the same direction. Because it's the same curve copied and then says modify, this tends to work quite well. Okay, so then you can just leave it there for now. There's many options. I can cap this, and I can put this maybe in a floor solid and turn off the curves. So let's just, I mean, it's not that funky because I didn't spend much time, but that's your floor. Let me change the color and turn on this thing again. So, you know, it could be, I mean, you see how little variation is there, you know, what, it's like more of a landscape thing, comes up and down. So this could be one of your explorations that you do for the floor world. I don't know, maybe from some of the films that they're more organic shapes for whatever reason, but otherwise it could be anything that the films inspire you. So the question is, once you do something like this for floors, walls, or ceilings, which by the way, ceilings could be as simple as a mirror, which is another command, and you do this like that. Could be cool as well, or interesting.
Reminds me of stalactites and stalagmites.
Yeah, so that could be your ceiling if you were to, and maybe it's made of a textile, you can see the trusses. So this is also, why not? It could be the from a rival, no? Like the gravity inversion doesn't make sense, whatever. So this is a ceiling. And we just keep it very simple with solids, landscapes, forms. We don't need to think yet of what perforations they are if you want, or if light comes through this way. Those things will take care in the second panel. This is more about general forms. Okay, I don't want you to spend time on how does this, you know, create a type of perforation or a type of screen effect, etc. Just general forms. Okay, so let's imagine do a floor or a ceiling. I'm going to go back, Control C, so we have the floor, but again, so how do we bring this into our InDesign now? No, we need a main axonometry, an elevation, or plan, I guess, if it's a floor, it makes sense, and section elevation with color. And I don't know if we have, yeah, we have a little time. I'm going to do it very fast. And again, those that haven't done Rhino before are going to be mad at me, but don't worry. I'm going to repeat this next class, next week in person. So it's also in the recording if you want to dare and try to put it together. But again, you have another bunch of materials that you can focus on, starting the introduction of Rhino, doing the research and so on. So I think you have plenty of work to do before this phase. So what I want here is only the floor. So I would like you to turn off this guy, to select a particular axonometric view by clicking on the triangle perspective, set view, isometric, and choose the one that you like best. For example, parallel view, and I think it was northwest. Okay, that's an axonometric. I'm going to select it. I'm going to do a make 2D. This is a command that allows to do a flattened 2D drawing out of a 3-dimensional element. Okay, so we're going to do the same view, parallel, maintain source layers, hidden lines. Say okay. Not sure what's going to come out of there because it's not much sophisticated in that sense. Oh, top view. So given that the project is actually quite simple or is complex, but it doesn't allow for a very complex make 2D, this is our drawing, as simple as that. Okay. This drawing, we need to go to the top view and we need to save file, export selected. And as Illustrator, we need to say action 1, for example. That would be this drawing. Now we want it with color in one person, but we'll see that. Okay, we have these standards. We say, okay, we don't have to change that. And when we are in Illustrator, we need to bring that particular drawing. The way to do it is opening, Control O, action 1, open. That opens a new file. We're gonna just select with the V tool, Control C, go back to original, Control V, and we're gonna make it nice and big because it's the most important drawing, maybe like this. I don't know, we'll see. Change these things later. Okay. Be careful when you select this and you say Control C, that's to copy, and then before you do Control V, make sure you actually click on layers, paragraph, and you make sure this is checked. Paste remember layers, okay? If you don't have that selected, you don't get these layers, which is basically make the hidden lines visible and hidden lines as well. So now we can select by clicking on the circle. We can drag the hidden lines underneath the visible, select them and change maybe to a lighter gray, maybe to a thinner line, maybe to smaller gap, 2 and 2. So it looks nice and clean. And then the visible line, select the circle. Maybe we change it. Maybe you like it blue. Maybe you want it red. I don't know. It's up to you. And thickness, if you like it, I think that's good. So that would be the axonometric. Again, in my case, it's just not that sophisticated. It's what it is. We need to bring color. That means that we need to create also, I can delete the line drawing, not the file. From the same view, Northwest, I need to do a render with the blue button, and you're gonna do a little bit better resolution. So you're gonna go and actually select, oops, maybe viewport, just a little bit bigger, 2000, whatever. Pixelation, you might want to have this 150, and then this to good at least or final. In your case, you want a transparent background and no ground plane. So you have to check this one and uncheck that one. You keep the rest pretty much as they are. Now, in my case, because I don't have time, well, it might even not happen under low res, just low res, and then this 72, and then draft or low quality. So you take the first settings. It's going to take a little bit. And once we have that, I can do several things. I can obviously go to materials on the cheese and select the floor solid circle and select the particular material that I'm interested in. I don't know, paint or whatever it is. Whatever color. Okay, and then you're going to render this. You could also insert, if you're in the mood, under the right view, a light. You could insert this type of light, directional, click in one, twice, go to the top view, select the light, and maybe rotate it a bit. So it's not a perfect kind of a position. Go back to the parallel view. Again, make sure you're in the northwest, the same as where you made the make 2D, the previous drawing, and then you do the rendering. Now this low res again. In your case, should start looking a bit better. It doesn't necessarily have to be like an amazing rendering. It's something's gonna go behind the line drawing. So look how bad resolution it is. That's just because of it's a draft low resolution. So you're gonna save once it's done. It might take a while to do yours. Mine has like a watery effect. It might be related to the film that I watched, maybe not. And I'm gonna go and save it. And it's important is it's PNG, okay? Go back to Illustrator, File, Place, my image, place it there. I need to create a layer, or I can actually call it like image, place it underneath the lines and drag that image that I'm selecting, V select. I'm gonna drag it to image. So now it's underneath those two layers. I could take that drawing and I need to place it a bit more carefully. You can use the arrows until they match. Okay, so that will be the floor element in axonometric. For now, I'm going to keep it there, but notice that in the InDesign, I'm saying an elevation. You would do the same steps. Make 2D from the top view if you want to plan, or elevation from the front view. Section elevation, you can do perspective or whatever it is. You can do make 2D for any particular view and introduce color the same way. You will introduce another view here or there, whatever, and then put them all together. You will save, Control S, and we'll call it final floor drawing or something like that. And in here in InDesign, we put everything outside, file, place, and you can select the Illustrator final floor. Here you don't click 2 times, change the scale, you click only once. So it comes at the scale that you need it to be. And that will be pretty much the drawing. And if you were done, you will have an elevation and a section, blah, blah, perspective, whatever you want, the 3 drawings that you want from your project. It should be consistent with another one and another one here for the other film and the other film, no? So ultimately at the end of this phase, again, the end of the phase panel 1, we should have this panel completed, okay? You can have other ingredients. You could also create a perspective from inside if you like it better as well. We can talk about what drawings could come here and how they come. But the main idea is that we're doing the inverse. We bring from Revit a shell, a container of our project, and we do something that we couldn't do in Revit easily. We do it in Rhino, and then what we're going to do in the next chapters and so on is bring it to Revit again. No, we will bring it here, and we'll be able to work with it here. But we can also include some more detailings and screen configurations for those faces, etc., etc. So slow process. Stop that.